Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your kayak fishing accessory needs, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. The 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the 153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started.
A second, I'm muted. I was muted. Now I'm not muted. All right, now I can talk. What's up, guys?
What's up, Drew? How you been, man?
Pretty good. I know this is the Reel Down podcast, the Paddle and Fin Reel Down, but I'm here, kind of the new co-host, Ken Norris, Dr. Noisewater. Can we call you that on this podcast?
Sure. Why not?
All right. Well, and by the way, I know that you guys know us from the Hooked on Wild Waters podcast. We joined the Paddle and Fin Network family. It's been a lot of fun being with these guys who are podcast experts. But now Ken and I are going to start the River Bassin podcast. This month, we're doing our first episode, just starting fresh and clean. And I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to have you on with me here today because it's been a while. But also, we've got an event to talk about that, had some rivers and creeks in play. And, this time of year that they can definitely become more in play. It's still good lake fishing too, but I'm excited to talk to these guys that we have on as guests when we recap the Kentucky Lake Trail Series number 2. And man, I just miss you, buddy. I just miss you. So
awesome. Yeah, dude, I'm excited to talk about last weekend, what these guys did down there. Maybe we can talk to you a little bit too, pry your mind about what happened down there because you didn't do too bad yourself. And it's exciting to get back behind the camera again. We've had a little bit of a hiatus, like you said, from our podcast because of the August was just slam busy for both of us. And transitioning to the Paddle and Fin family, we're going to start fresh, like you said, this month. And we're going to get something out there soon. And it's fun just to sit back and talk kayak fishing again. So
yeah, absolutely.
Get back in the seat and get it going.
Absolutely.
So you stepping in to do the reel down I was just like, yeah, let's do it. It'll be a good warm up. It'll get, back into the Paddle and Fin, audience and get started here.
Exactly. Now, and you're filling in, folks, if you haven't been listening to the podcast, Jimmy Skinner is still battling a little bit of COVID. So, that little COVID thing you probably heard of. So prayers for Jimmy and his family. I know once one person gets it in the family, it's kind of hard when you live with each other for everyone not to have it. So give you a shout out to them, prayers to them. You guys hang in there and stay tough through it. I'm sure he's getting over it soon and he'll be back. But anyway, we're thinking about you, Jimmy. Get better, buddy. And
buddy. Take it easy, man. Good help.
For sure. Well, let's bring these guys in because they had quite the weekend. So Jimmy McClurkan won day number 1. What's up, Jimmy?
How's it going, Drew? Ken?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Not quite as good as you, but I'm not complaining either, my friend.
No, 2 top 5s is pretty solid. Good for points.
Absolutely, man. I know, absolutely. See, that was a humble brag by Jimmy. He has 2 top 5s too. So not even a 1 and a 2. So there we go. I caught that little humble brag there. But we're actually going to do more bragging on you than you could ever do because that's the point of this podcast, to highlight you guys. And I'm going to bring Robert in now and highlight him because he won on day 2 with an incredible 96 inches in, the end of summer, which is the toughest time to be fishing anywhere. So what's up, Robert Weiker?
What's going on, fellas?
Not much, man. Not much. You heard us just say, we're doing good. Ken and I are okay, but you guys I know are doing a little better. But
a little bit better.
I'm not complaining, man. Been a great season, great year, but man, 2 wins. That was your second win on the KBF Trail Series. So I don't know how many people have 2 wins other than maybe didn't the guy on St. Clair win both?
St. Clair won
Saturday
twice.
and Sunday?
He did.
And I don't know if anybody else has 2 wins, but you may be the only one that has 2 on 2 separate, bodies of water. Well, wait, no. Did the guy in Clear Lake? He's like leading AOI.
He didn't win both. He finished in the top in like all 3 of their events, but he won one of them, but he didn't win all 3 because I looked at his AOI points. He's at like 600 and then 594 and then like 588 or something like that. So he didn't win 2 in a row or 2 of the 3. He only won 1, but he finished way up there. Yeah.
But he had three really good days.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And to shout him out, his name is Daniel. I don't pull up. It's like Balboa or Balaba or I'm totally botching it, but it's better than just saying, "Hey, that guy on Clear Lake in
the
California."
dude from Clear
Hey,
Lake, Clear Lake dude, Mr. Clear Lake.
I'm trying, Daniel. I'm trying to get you the credit you deserve, man. Good job out there that weekend.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy.
That is crazy. So consistent is what it's all about. Consistency. These are two of the most consistent guys, out there right now, which is why, you guys are both in the top 10 in the AOI. Jimmy, do you remember where you are? Have you looked?
Yes, I'm tied. I'm tied for third with Russ.
That's right. You're tied for third. I'm in fifth. I had a good, weekend as well.
Yep.
So it improved me a little bit. Robert, you haven't fished even a ton of events and you're sitting there ninth within striking distance. So that's pretty impressive, man. Pretty impressive for sure. But let's get into it. If you guys are listening, then I just want to say this. My job as I came onto the show with Jimmy, as an angler who also fishes these and just is a big fan of the sport, this game is so intriguing. It never gets old to me because weather conditions change, water conditions change, the bodies of water change, the time of year we go there changes. There's so much changing. It's the reason why sports like golf, they say it's it's not a hobby, it's an obsession. Well, fishing is the same way. It's really not a hobby. It really is an obsession. So my role here on the show as an angler that's also such a fan like this, an angler that obviously has accomplished, some nice things in the sport, is to just try to dig as much as I can and get as much juice, squeeze these guys a little bit. And their job may be to avoid some of these questions that to the depth I try to go. But I also don't try to pick too hard. But anyway, that's what I'm going to try to do.
Smoothie maker, basically, the kayak fishing smoothie guy. He's trying to juice you guys.
That's right. Trying to. But anyway, let's get into it. And let's start making some juice here. So, all right. So the first day, the first tournament, that's the one that you won, Jimmy. So we'll quickly get your synopsis of the day, but really take us even back further to pre-fishing. And I actually want you to take us even further back to your history on this lake. And did you run history and any sort of, map study, Google Earth, anything like that? Was that a big player at all too? So take us back from the very beginning to where you weren't even pre-fishing lake, just studying on the maps.
Wow. Yeah, so my history on that lake, I lived about 20 miles from that lake for my entire life. So I consider Kentucky Lake my home water. I run a big bass boat. I was on C&O Marine, Team C&O for lots of years, running a big bass boat. So I've got lots of history there. I've won several events. In a kayak, I've won several club events there. But yes, study Google Earth this time of year when that water's coming down. You want to look for those ditches and holes and such as that. So I looked at Google Earth quite a bit, and then I spent the weekend prior there. I came home for 2 days for the hurricane that blew through, and then I went back starting Wednesday and fished every day. So I put in about 5 days of pre-fishing and found probably 4 creeks that had a population of bass in them, including the one Robert. I pre-fished that creek Friday, the day before the tournament, and had 90 plus inches in there and decided not to go to that creek.
Thank you.
So is that why he's your best friend, Robert?
Yeah.
You were saying that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. I'll let you dig into that story a little bit more, I guess, when we get to your side of things. But he was telling us that Jimmy is his new best friend, and now it's starting to come a little clear here. So Jimmy, so it's impressive, man. You've had a little history there, and I feel pretty good to come pretty close to what you had done. Given I actually just kind of rolled into town because I was at La Crosse.
Sure.
I rolled into town. Not really, didn't really have a chance to do any pre-fishing. I had a few hours to drive around on Friday when I got into town. But, dude, I didn't realize you were, that close and you're such a hammer on this body of water. So it sounds like, to me, history played a big part in knowing some key areas to go to. The drawdown, they start pulling water, I think, around 1st of September. So now get into, a little bit about what you, what you did, I guess, on tournament day.
Yeah, so I had, like I said, I had found fishing a good population of fishing about 4 creeks. And once I decided which creek I was going to start in, that's where I started. I went straight to my fish, and they were there just like they were several days before. I sat and caught them till about 11:30, pretty steady. And 11:30, I fished for about an hour and didn't get bit. So I had my truck already backed in to the water. I left my boat backed in. I left my trailer backed in the water that day off a little side road, and I went and loaded it up and hit another creek, and I coiled up 3 times and ended up, I think, with 87.5 that day.
Nice. And you're in which kayak are you in?
I was running my autopilot 136 Old Town.
Nice. So you the motor. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, so I was just curious. Like, so you said you caught 90+ inches on Friday, the day before this tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did you look at, for question one, did you look at the leaderboard at all during the day? Or do you look at the leaderboard when you're out on the water at all?
I'm a little bit of a watcher, right? So I don't upload my fish generally until I have 3 or 4 or 5 fish. I don't want to stop and take the time to download until I usually have my limit.
Yeah.
So, but after that, as I called, I would look at it, but I don't pull my phone, just keep track of it.
Gotcha. So you had an idea of where everybody else was, at least to the point of where they were uploaded. Did you think that like mid 80s plus was going to do it for day one?
No, I would have thought it would have taken over 90. And when the tournament was over, when I had 87.5, and there was still an hour, and your likes of Josh Stewart, Drew Gregory, all the hammers that were down there, Derek Bostich, Jody Queen, Matt Ball,
Russ,
all of those guys have not submitted yet. Yes. Yeah. So you're thinking, well, there's no way 87 going to hold up. So I had my best friend on the phone with me while I was driving. We were literally counting down minutes, talking. I was like, and he was refreshing his computer, looking at the leaderboard while I was driving, and he was talking to me. And it got down to 1 minute to go, and I was still leading, and Russ hadn't submitted yet. I said, well, there's no way that he's got time to submit 5 now. So I waited till 1 minute after 3 o'clock to celebrate. But yeah, getting that trail win was big.
That's cool. I was just curious because, like, knowing that you caught 90 inches the day before, and whether you checked the leaderboard or not, like you knew, because I think you were at like, when did you? Because you were at like 83 or 82, weren't you, at some point?
I was when I left that first creek and went to the second creek, I was only at like low 80s, but I still think that was leading. But when I went to that second creek, I upgraded 3 times, like I said.
Gotcha. Because I was just curious if you were like in any sort of panic mode, or if you're like, I got to get to 90 inches at least to have a chance to do anything. You know what I mean? Like all that stuff goes through your head like that. And so I was just curious if that was happening to you or not.
It was a little, and I caught 90 inches the day before, but I caught them in that creek a couple of days prior, and it had the wind blowing in that creek, and I caught them really good on a pattern I liked. I was throwing a wacky rig and throwing that jackhammer, and they were just annihilating it. When I went back in there, and that was of an afternoon, I had checked another creek. I didn't get to that creek till 2 p.m., so I wanted to go back in there and check it for a morning bite. So I went back in there, and ironically, off the same root ball that he caught his entire limit, I caught a 20 plus, and it run a number 2 treble hook in my hand. So I threw it back and popped that out and fished. Not like I wanted to. I was having to throw a Nig rig and green holes of water in those ditches, and I just didn't like the pattern. And how he found it or knew I was in there, his buddy had came all the way across the lake, like 5 miles on his trolling motor to get to that creek. And I'd give him a little information. I said, yes, I'd caught him in here good. When the wind's blowing in here, it's really on fire. And Robert took it and run with it.
So that was during pre-fishing, you're saying?
That was the Friday. Yeah.
Friday. Gotcha.
That's the day I caught him.
So let me ask you this then. Why did you not, having caught 90 inches in pre-fishing. Why didn't you go to that creek during the tournament? Because the wind direction, like you just alluded to, or what?
Yeah, the wind direction was not blowing in there the first day, and I didn't like the pattern. You know, I was wanting to throw that jackhammer and that wacky rig, and I had to catch them on a Ned rig that day that I caught them in there, and I just didn't know if I could duplicate it exactly.
Excuse me while I throw up over here in the trash can.
I didn't know if I could duplicate it. I was just having to throw in those green holes and hope that they were there. Where in the creek that I ultimately went to, I knew that they were there, and I knew how to catch them.
Yeah, and you could power fish them a little bit more. Hey, no offense to Ned rig, it catches a lot of fish, and obviously I'm sponsored by Z-Man. I love the Ned stuff, and they kind of were the ones who really brought that, I guess, more mainstream. But anyway, so big fan of it when you have to use it, but it just it just is not something like you're saying. I don't really want to use. It's kind of a last resort sort of thing. But a lot of people, it's their first resort, and they catch them just as good. They catch more and win tournaments with it. So it's just everybody's personality is different. There's no way in the world anyone who watches what I do, anything in kayak fishing ever can, see that would not fit my personality. Just sitting there, I need to be moving and fast and kind of ADHD. But anyway, Jimmy, that's good stuff, man. You definitely gave us a lot of good info there. Now, and you're talking, when you say creek, I mean, you got your trolling motors. It's safe to assume, you're in a creek arm of lake. You're not, you know what I mean? Like, you're not in actual, like, skinny little tiny body of water. You're like in the creek arm of the lake, of somewhere on the lake. Is that right? Or because you have a troll motor?
So the best way to explain it, and I'll give you guys, everybody listening, some juice for Kentucky Lake, right? So the best place to catch fish in the backs of these is where that creek, like the last hole where it dumps out into that, where it turns into the lake, that bay, that first, where it makes that transition, that is going to be your juice, and get in. A lot of times I was in 2 feet of water, or my trolling motor would drag and I would just pop it up and I would paddle. But you're looking to get in those, if you're in 2 foot, and you can get over into that creek and it drops off 2.8 or 3.2, those fish use that like highways. Yeah. And that's the ticket.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, good stuff, buddy. Man, what a great tournament win you had, and you had a great day too as well. Ken, you got anything else you want to ask him about day number 1, his win?
I don't think so, man. I think that you pretty much,
I think I spilled it all.
You spilled a lot of it. You gave us like kind of a read on where in the creek to go. You gave us like a little bit of pattern information. You gave us some specifics that a lot of people aren't willing to give up. So I commend that. I applaud that. And congratulations, man. It's a feat. It's a feat to get one of these wins.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a rare fraternity for sure.
It is, man.
And it's I'm honored to be a part of it. Love the sport.
Well, for sure, man. You're one of the best, and we appreciate you. And moving on and transitioning to day 2, before we head over to Robert and hear how he caught him. Did you go to that creek ever in day 2, or did you just not fish the creek? You caught 90 at all during the tournament?
Me?
Or the 90 inches on pre-fishing, you caught him there. Did you never go to that creek at all during the tournament?
Never. No. Never. Day 2, I did not go back to my day 1 creek. I felt like that I had put a punishing on those fish, so I completely switched creeks on day 2. But it was not the creek that Robert. That was. Right. I went to another creek that had a good population of fish. I caught a 20 3/4 and a 21 and 17 something, and he had 96 something day 2. I caught and had in the kayak 93.5 inches of fish, but I hooked that last 18.5 with like a minute and a half to go, and I was just in such a hurry that when she flopped, I was grabbing my camera. I pushed her right off the side of the kayak, but luckily he outpaced me. If he would have beat me with 93, I would have been heartbroken. But luckily, he had 96.
Yeah, dude. Robert, do you remember I told you the exact same thing at the results? I said, "Thank God you had 96 inches because I lost several fish that were pretty good size. I'm not going to get into what I could have had, but I don't think if I'd caught them all, I would have had 96. So I at least felt good that I probably wasn't going to win, but I definitely would have, jumped Jimmy. But as you just heard, it happens to everybody, guys. If you're listening, you're a tournament angler. Jimmy lost one too, so he could say the same thing right back, and that's just part of the game. But that's what makes it fun. You don't know once you hook a fish if you're ever going to actually get it in. That pounding in the heart is why we love this sport. It's just a few 30, 45 seconds, a minute at most, but those short spurts of time, man, they make all the travel and everything we do so worth it, man. So Robert, it was all worth it for you on day 2, man. And Jimmy, obviously you got second too. We might get you to talk a little bit about day 2 as well later, but let's hear Robert's take on day 2 and how he caught those fish in another creek that Jimmy also pre-fished in and wore him out. So you let him rest a day and then you went and got him, I guess. It sounds like.
Well, my day 1 and 2, it's it's all one story. I can't really break it.
Yeah. So tell us the whole thing.
We went to Kentucky Lake, and I didn't plan on even fishing the tournament, and I've got some history there. And my buddy Kyle, he's my boss and my best friend, and all the way around, and he was talking about qualifying for the national championship. I said, let's go down to Kentucky Lake. I've got some history there. I've got some great spots. Let's go down and check. Well, day and a half of practice. Kentucky Lake isn't the same it was 4 years ago. So all my lake points were trash. They were garbage. We practiced our butt off, didn't find anything. And then Jason Isaacs was sitting in our house, and he's like, Robert, if you don't go fish a creek, you're stupid. I said, dude, I didn't come to Kentucky Lake to fish a freaking creek. I don't want to fish a creek. Drew, no offense. I hate skinny. I want to go out. I want to be 20 foot of water looking at my depth finder, whacking big fish on any water over 10 foot deep. That's my life. That's where I live. So,
you do it, man. Keep pushing.
Yeah,
we love it. It's good. And it can be won both. Here, let me just interject real quick. I love that you say that because it can be won. Any tournament can be won in moving water or in the lake. I really feel like the potential is there, but it just takes the best anglers that know how to fish lakes and the best guys on rivers to get to a number that maybe could win. So it's cool that you like that style, and a lot of people do. It's a lot easier. There's a lot of things that are beneficial. The bigger bodies of water, typically, the bigger the ocean, the bigger the fish. They do have the bigger, you don't see me with big bass too often. You know what I mean? It may be more consistent, but the biggest fish probably do live in the main lake. But anyway, I'm glad that, that's your style, man. And a lot of guys choose to do that. So we're all kind of spread out a little bit in this kayak fishing world.
For sure. Well, Jason told me to go fish a creek, and I was like, look at the map. And my other buddy, Jason, I had 2 Jasons, he'd been here for a week, and he'd struggled a lot. He'd found some fish here and there. And so me, him, and Kyle put our heads together. We decided to launch at a ramp, and we found the creek that Jimmy was talking about. But it was 5.4 miles from where I wanted to launch. But I wanted to go check history. Jason wanted to go check a spot. So all 3 of us just launched in the same area, divided and conquered. Kyle made the long run clear over there. He had 2 lithium batteries in his boat, so he knew he was going to make it there. And I went and did some history, and it was terrible. I caught a 17-inch smallmouth on a spot that duplicated itself for miles, and I was like, all right, I've got something. And it didn't duplicate itself anywhere. Like, I thought the spot was the same all the way up through the river. But anyway, long story short, I decided I'm not going to let Kyle cross the river again by himself because he's really new in the game, and 50 foot of water crossing the river in that barge channel was a little nerve-wracking. So I told Jason, I said, I'm going to hop in the truck, run over here to that marina, and it's right up the mouth of the creek. It's a half mile from the creek, and I pull in there, and Kyle comes around the point, and he's like, hey, you want to go fish the strip mines, he said. And that's my little bass hunting hole up here. Crystal clear water, 20 foot deep. You can see the bottom, whatever. And he said, hey, I met this guy in the creek. His name was Jimmy. And I was like, uh-oh. Jimmy who? He said, I got to look. He said, is it McClurkan? Is that right? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes,
oh, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Jimmy McClurkan. And I was like, really? He said, well, he said he was going to fish. He didn't know where he was going to fish more, but he wasn't fishing here. And I told Kyle, I said, well, we're going to fish here then. So I've literally never had a good day bass fishing in a creek in my life. But I was a trout guide for a few years. I kind of know how fish set up in creeks. I've got a good feeling for it. And so we went out there and just fished. I mean, we went out there. He caught an 18-something on his third cast in practice. And then he put his rod down and he took off up the creek. He found there was enough room for us to fish all day. So we just planned it. So we went up there day one, caught a lot of fish. I think I caught 15 keepers, ended up 9th place. We seen, here's where it comes into day two. We seen an absolute mega school up in the creek. I'm talking 5 or 6 20-inch largemouth, 4 or 5, maybe 19 to 20-inch smallmouth. I'm telling you, it was a Cabela's aquarium in the back of that creek. But we watched them come in to the creek, or come down the creek. Like, they weren't holding up on a structure. They were just moving down the creek. And then they buried up in a brush pile when they seen us. So we couldn't catch them. We left for like an hour. I hooked one of them later and lost it, which would definitely put me to 2nd or 3rd on day one. I mean, I lost a hammer up in the creek, but I told Kyle, I said, let's cut our losses. We got a good limit. We both did pretty good today. Let's just go to the house, and we'll come back and fish here day one. We're going to run all the way to that brush pile, straight to it, first thing in the morning. Well, all that rain moved in, and there was no way we were going to run up there. Jimmy's seen the creek. It's hard to navigate in the daytime, more or less in the dark. So we roll back in there, and we stop. And I told Kyle, I said, let's just stop right here, hit spot lock, and just chill. We had 3 minutes before the tournament started. And holy cow, when the tournament started, it was on. Tournament started. I made 2 casts. At 6:03, I had a 17-something in the kayak. And it was on 1 root ball in the mouth of the creek. And in 14 minutes, I had 90 inches. And then I caught 13 keepers in the first, 20 minutes. Kyle caught an 18-something out of there. But he was having a hard time taking a picture, so all the props in the world to him, because him and I fished shoulder to shoulder. We knew we were going to fish together all day. Both of us casting the same spot, whatever, but he seen what went down while he was trying to get his picture taken and realized that I got a good shot at winning the tournament, so he moved on. He was like, dude, I'm not going to touch that tree. You got it. I mean, it's over. So that tree in 1 foot of water for, 45 minutes every cast with a spinnerbait and a buzzbait. It was all spinnerbait bite at first, and they shut down, so I started throwing a buzzbait, and it fired them right back up. I caught a bunch more. I don't know how many fish I caught. I couldn't tell you.
That's awesome.
It's one of those days.
Dude, you guys are both my kind of guys. These guys are right here, if I'm pointing to them correctly. No, kind of, whatever. But here's why. Dude, they stop hitting a spinnerbait. Most people go to a jig or a Ned rig or a wacky rig. Like, okay, they're stop hitting the power fishing. No, you're like, dude, they're not hitting a spinnerbait. They're going to hit a buzzbait. And then you throw even more power and more noise at them. That's cool. And they were like, all right. So I just
thought color change would do it. I went from white to and I just, whatever. I was changing something. I knew any change, as fired up as they were, I knew any change was going to work. I think the water next to them was 6 or 7 feet, and this little channel that comes through there, and it rolls up to a foot. And literally most of my fish came in a hole the size of a basketball. Just cast after cast after cast.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane, man. I mean, when my wife says I don't really look good and I need to change, I try a color change too, and I hope that works. And she's happy with okay, now we can go out and wherever we're going, right? But doesn't always work that way with her. So it's amazing that it worked, trying the color change. It worked out for you and a little different approach. But I'll ask you that on this podcast, the same question I asked you in the pavilion at the results show was because you told us the story, how it was real clear and you saw those fish swim in there on day one, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, this doesn't compute in my brain. How are you catching in 1 and 2 foot of water off 1 root ball this many fish, and they're not spooking by seeing you? They're not coming out chasing that fish and then seeing your kayak and then spooking like they did on day one when they went down, like you guys said, into the tree. And tell us a little bit about why you don't think that was such a case on day two here.
It was dark.
Yeah.
It was literally minutes in. But Jimmy told Kyle that the west wind all blew the muddy water up in the creek when they were talking. And that water was crystal clear the day before, but we had a really good west wind on day two, and that creek was muddy for 300 yards up in the creek.
Yep.
So the color change of the water was different the next day. Everything was different. But after we got on that big flurry, we ran up the creek to that brush pile. I made a beeline. I went up there real fast, fished really hard on my way up there. I caught a 21 right around the first bend. But I didn't catch the big ones in that mouth. I just caught it 90 inches. I mean, anyway.
Yeah.
But
the winning total already, right?
Brush pile, and that brush pile was empty. And then it hit me right then. I was like, Kyle, those bass we seen cruising were headed to the mouth because the storm was coming. There's something to do with that. We have to go to the mouth. So I ran back to the mouth as fast as I could and started flipping on a big tree and caught 21 1/4. So all those fish that we seen and caught the day before that were not in the creek anymore, they were down there at the mouth because all the bait was down there. The water was running faster. The west wind was blowing the muddy water in. There was a real nice little current of clear water coming right down the channel, but muddy on both sides. And everybody knows what a mud line does like that, especially a mud line on an extreme depth change like that. I mean, 1 foot to 6 foot on a creek bend. I mean, it was just, you couldn't have wrote it down on a piece of paper, your perfect scenario, and it just happened to be there that day. So,
yep, that's true, man.
I told Jimmy, he's like, "Are you Robert Weiker?" I said, "Yeah." He shook my hand. I said, "Buddy, you're my new best friend right now." He told Kyle. He told Kyle the thing he needed to know. Kyle told me, and then I started putting it in my brain, computing what's going to happen. And like I said, Kyle's really new to the sport, but he definitely, this is his first year, and I mean, he's in the top 100 in AOI. He's had a really, really good year for his first year ever. But Jimmy told him everything, and Kyle's like a little tape recorder. And then he
like
told
a sponge.
Oh,
good for Kyle, man. I met him. He's a good dude.
He knew every detail there was to know, and when he told me, it just kind of all started building up. And then day 2, I was laying there. We anchored, and I was like, dude, I got to tie on a spinnerbait and a buzzbait. It's windy, rainy, watercolor's different. Something's going to happen. And 2 minutes later, game on.
Well, yeah. Kyle seemed like a super, super nice guy, man. That's cool that you guys got to share that with each other. You know, we talked about, you know, how the juice is made, the smoothie, whatever you guys joking, but that's basically what Robert just described, guys. Okay, everything changed, like you said. So rain, throw in a little rain, throw in it's dark because it's 6 a.m. when we're casting our first cast. It wasn't dark, you know, when that happened the first day 1, right? So you throw in that, the rain, wind, muddy water, everything was different. Throw it all in, you blend it up, and you had this perfect recipe, you know, this perfect smoothie, right? It all comes together. And that's better. You know, I say it all the time, Ken. I've talked about it on our podcast before. Like every tournament that's won, almost every time, it's not like, oh, I junked fished the best my way around this lake and just kind of just was the best at it. It rarely happens like that. The winner is usually something that's just like you described, super, super special. And you know, Jimmy, you kind of had something like that going on day 1, but with the weather, I think Robert's scenario fits that description a little bit more, but usually it's something super special. Look at Mark Pendergraph at, you know, Possum Kingdom Lake, you know, right from the ramp. I mean, I can go on and on with so many examples this year of tournaments that were won. Ken, you won a KBF Trail Series event, and we actually tied our total. We tied. So, you know, but I had something really unique and special. You had something unique and special too, and they were both, you know, equally kind of unique and just different that nobody else was really on. So you guys kind of found it. So that's pretty cool. Hey Robert, real quick, you're throwing a buzzbait. I threw a buzzbait some. I do enjoy, you know, throwing that bait. Are you throwing a skirtless buzzbait, double bladed buzzbait? Just give us a little bit of the details on
how
the buzzbait.
Buzzy
If you
was
put
your buzzbait.
Yeah, how buzzy. What kind of trailer do you put on it? If you put a trailer hook, all the details in that buzzbait. So
do you let it sit outside to get rusty? Do you put it in front of the fan to break it in? Like, what do you do?
I'll be 100% honest with you. I hate a buzzbait. I don't like them. I don't like throwing them. I never throw them. But I knew that if the weather were to get a little bit, the only reason why I tied it on in the morning, I knew if it were to slack off and the wind would let down, the buzzbait bite would probably turn on a little bit. So I was throwing the same spinnerbait, same guy. This is a local company by us, Pro Tackle Crafters. They make a spinnerbait and they make a buzzbait. They make a lot of soft plastics and jigs. But they, I just had a regular black buzzbait, as plain Jane as it gets. And just a trailer hook. I mean, just a little 2-aught trailer hook on the back. No trailer, no nothing. But I did take the blades and bend them in a little bit to make it a little bit slower retrieve, a little louder. Because I figured burning that spinnerbait wide open, I was going to try to change the presentation and the color. No, I just wanted to change everything because they're all. I mean, you hook so many fish in one spot, they're going to get smart quick. But yeah, it was just a normal old, just basic as it gets buzzbait. No trailer, no nothing. Trailer hook.
Good deal.
Which was huge because I throw a trailer hook on a spinnerbait, and I hear all the time guys like, I don't throw a trailer on a spinnerbait. My 21-incher, when I caught him, I flipped into a brush pile because I'll flip a spinnerbait a lot. I don't cast them all. I'll flip them like a jig, let them fall, yank them back up. And when I flipped into a brush pile, it sunk, and my motor, I thought it was on because the wind was blowing me. So I reached up for my remote, letting it fall. He hits it. I was all discombobulated, couldn't set the hook, it was a madness. And he was skin hooked by the trailer hook on his bottom lip.
Wow.
So it was just stupid fish. I mean, he bit when I wasn't ready. You know how it is sometimes. It was a train wreck.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the trailer hook, he wouldn't have been in the boat.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's crazy. Well, everyone's numbers on day 2 went way up. So, Ken, if you want to get the numbers, do you mind getting the numbers up on another tab, and we'll read over the numbers if you can. But the numbers went way up on day 2. We had that weather come in. I actually, when I was fishing, I think I ended up in 3rd place on day 2 with 88 and 3/4 inches. And Jimmy, on day 1, you won with like 87. Is that right? 87 something.
87 and a half.
Okay, so I'm thinking. I pulled the leaderboard up because I didn't have signal really very well, so I didn't upload it all until the end of the day, around like 2:30. And I looked at the leaderboard the first time, and it popped up, and I thought, I got a chance to win this thing. And then I see Robert at like 96 inches. I'm like, holy cow, everyone did catch him as good as I thought they would, and as good as I was kind of catching them. But anyway, then you were right up there too, and I was like, dang gum Jimmy, man. But happy for you. And anyway, so real quick, talk about, or go ahead, Ken, you got the numbers?
Yeah, so just going to roll down the numbers from 1st to 10th. So obviously Robert had 96 inches. Jimmy came in second with 89.75. Drew, you were in 3rd with 88.75. And then it went 88 inches, 88 inches, 87.5 inches, 86.25 inches, 86 inches. And then we dropped down to 83.75, drop down. Then another 83.75 inches. So you had to have over 80 inches to be in the top 15 on day 2.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now day 1, we haven't read off those numbers. Let's hear what day 1's numbers were for everyone, just so they can compare and see what.
So in day 1, Jimmy obviously took the win with 87.5, and then immediately Eric Jackson in 2nd place had 84.75. So we dropped 3 inches down to that lower number just for 2nd place on day 1. 84.5, 83.75, 83.5, 82, 81.25, 82.5, 80, and 79.25 rounds out 10th place. So 10th place to even make it to 80 inches on day 1. So something happened on Saturday. It seems like it shut them down a little bit from Friday, according to.
Yeah. What's that?
So, blue skies and sunshine. It was hot.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah. So
I think that's how the lake was fishing. That's how that lake had been fishing for a couple of weeks. If you had 80s to 82 to 3-4, that's about all the lake was giving up. If you could get to that 85 plus, you had something pretty special. And then when that weather change blew in that wind, for him, put him over 90. And I was again on a 93.5 inch bite. So again, the lake that day was giving up about mid 80s, and us three were on something a little bit special from everybody else.
Yeah, because it looks like I mentioned to get into the top 15 of day 2 was 80 inches. That's what I said, right, about that?
Yep.
Well, to get in the top 15 of day 1 was 75.25. So, there was about a 5-inch difference, I would say, in what, you had to do to compete from day 1 to day 2. It gave up 5 extra inches on day 2.
Right.
Yep. Day 2 was nuts, man. It was great. But let's real quickly get your thoughts on one thing here. Chad Hoover mentioned that the national championship is coming back to Kentucky Lake next year. So obviously you guys are probably pretty excited about that. You got good history there. Aside from just your initial, probably excitement that it's a lake we've done well on, what are your thoughts on going back to a place we've kind of already been? And y'all want to go? Would you rather go to new places, assuming it wasn't your quasi home lake, for you, Jimmy, and Robert, a place you've obviously done well? I mean, do y'all like going back, or would you like to see some new stuff, or what are y'all's thoughts on that?
I'll go first. I always like to see Kentucky Lake on a schedule, and I think that's kind of where Chad cut his teeth starting this thing on Kentucky Lake. We had the NC there. I think it'll always be part of the KBF schedule. So I always like seeing it on there. And one of the big reasons I gave up what they're doing right now that time of year next year, that where we were catching them in 1 or 2 foot of water will be land. So you're going to have to refine those fish. They still may be in a creek, but you're going to have to relocate what exactly they're doing. So what I gave you will be good for a drawdown next year, but for national championship, it's not good information.
Yeah.
So
you're
that
excited
1
about
month. Oh, go ahead, Drew.
No, go ahead.
That 1 month is going to make a huge difference in Kentucky Lake between like late summer, early September to that October fallish sort of scenario in Kentucky Lake.
Yeah, and they'll, it's just now beginning to feel like fall. It felt like fall this morning here in Tennessee, and the bait fish will want to get to the back, but it's going to be different. You'll probably be catching them out on flats next year, during that national championship. That's how it'll probably be won. It won't be won in a ditch because the ditches won't be there. That'll be dry land. It'll probably be won on a flat next year in the back of a creek on a flat.
That's some good juice right there. Yeah, Robert, what do you think, man? You excited about that, or
if you made it to the 41-minute mark? Congratulations, there's the juice.
Yeah, that's right. If you made it.
When you first mentioned it, I was like, man, I don't want to come back to Kentucky Lake. But then hearing Jimmy just now talk, now I'm like, wait a minute, I might want to come to Kentucky Lake for that one.
Get to fish the lake, yeah.
It doesn't fish like I expected it to, and honestly, I don't. Like I said, I had no intentions on coming in the first place. I had no intentions on the Angle of the Year race, 10 house, none of that stuff until this freak weekend happened. Now my whole freaking life and plan for the rest of the year changed. But I think that the way Jimmy just talked about it, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be here for sure. I think it'll be a good time then. I don't want to go in this time of year because I don't like fishing creeks.
I was this close to coming down to Kentucky Lake with Drew. He says he's like, you can come down if you want, and I just didn't have the push that I needed to force me down there after getting down there after lacrosse. But it sounds like I made a mistake by staying home.
Yep,
no doubt. No, it's cool. I'm excited about it too. But I'm glad it's a couple things. I'm glad it's in October, like different time of year than the first national championships that were there. They were always in the spring. And so COVID sort of flipped that schedule. So that's cool. It's going to be different. So it's not going to be one fish the same. It's not even going to be the same, like you just said, Jimmy, that this tournament was. So it'll be totally different. Everyone's on a level playing field. The other thing I'm really excited about is the boundaries for this tournament was different than all those national championships years. There was no cutoff at I-40, south of I-40.
Right.
It was always cut off, right? Now it's not, so I assume they're going to keep that boundary the same, because if it's like that for, the 50-something anglers that were there this weekend, why would they, when there's 300, 400, 500, why would they make the boundary smaller? So I think that'll stay the same, which brings a lot of new water into play. And then also there's no boundary on the Cumberland River on the other side. I think it used to be for the national championship, the mouth of the Red River was the boundary in Clarksville. And no longer do we have that boundary either. So that opens up a lot of new water and plenty of water for a national championship type field, which typically does have, 300, 400, 500 anglers. So I'm excited about that. After this one at Kentucky Lake, I do hope it goes somewhere besides Shreveport, Kentucky Lake, or Guntersville, which, where we've already been. I would love to see something up north, and have them move it up a little bit, maybe the end of September, early October. So it's still nice up north. But, I just think that'd be kind of cool to mix it up, move it to some other bigger bodies of water that can handle that many people. What's that?
Hey, Robert, if they move it,
Champlain.
If they move it up north, I'm giving you a call.
I got you, buddy, for sure.
Yeah.
Move it to Erie. You'll see me and Jimmy fishing.
He owes it.
I promise.
Perfect.
Absolutely. It'd be cool in a St. Clair, Erie, or Champlain. I mean, just to mix it. I feel like the national championship actually should be moved around the country because it's fair to the anglers that that live around the country. This is a national trail, so we should make it national, and they do a pretty good job. I mean, it's not like those lakes are all right next to each other. Shreveport's further away, and Kentucky Lake and Guntersville, they're all kind of separated, but it'd be nice to move it up to some different places. And I agree, Champlain, Erie, St. Clair, there's some other bigger bodies of water, or find another city that's got multiple lakes like they're doing in Shreveport that we could go to that could accommodate that many anglers. and somewhere in Texas would be really cool, or Oklahoma,
Yes.
or Arkansas. So I think we'll see that one day, but just don't know where they're going to go. But I'm excited, guys. So let me quickly transition. Unless Ken, you got any other stuff you want to mention about the tournament or the national championship? Thoughts on that? Or
no, man, I'm excited to head down to Shreveport this year in a couple of weeks. I'm feeling like we'll be seeing these two guys down there.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I haven't fished Kentucky Lake yet. So if I make my way down there next year, I'll be excited to fish it. I'll have a very new perspective on it. So I'm not super stoked. Like, oh my gosh, I love this place, and I'm not like, oh, I hate this place either. Like, I don't like. It's not. It sounds like it would fit for me, but like, I know a lot of people have a history there, so that's a little intimidating in that sense as well. Like for the old pros, but you never know what could happen. Like you mentioned me earlier, I showed up at Pickwick in Alabama and Tennessee corner or wherever, and just put it on them in that first day, and I had never been there before, so. You can stumble into something just like that. So
you can, and you actually mentioned something. So you guys for sure are going to be at the national championship. I know because you're both trying to get into the 10 house. Jimmy, you were there last year, right? Weren't you in the 10 house?
I was.
So that was your first year, right?
That was my first year in the 10 house. Second year fishing out of a kayak.
Awesome, man. So yeah.
Hey, so we need to slow down and ask Mr. Gregory on a little juice. I've seen a lot of smallmouth that I'd like to know how they were caught. And
all right.
You gonna give up a little juice?
Deal. Yeah, man, sure. I'll tell you guys. I was throwing a spinnerbait. I was in a creek, as well, and in some moving water, and just kind of doing my thing, man. Just picking it apart and trying to figure out. The thing is, like for every lake, creek arm, or true creek, right, or river, you got to find the sweet spot, like where they're at, and in a creek or river, a lot of times it's not the most obvious spots, right? It's sometimes it's not those real obvious, like bluff wall, big deep hole. It's not where you think that they should be, what looks the best. Sometimes it's that medium, moderate current, medium depth, just 2 and 3 feet, even in the push water, in front of some shoals, or, where it trickles down, narrows down, and they're sitting there, and then you cruise over and you see them, and you're like, dang it, if I would just thrown there. And I just had to figure out on day one, because that was my first day of fishing, where are they setting up? And the fish, I did have a couple largemouth on day 2, but most of my fish were smallmouth, and they were setting up in that kind of 2-3 foot of water, maybe on a tree or root ball that's not even breaking the surface. That's just in the middle of the creek. That's 2-3 foot of water. You got to see with your, I was using my, Smith Optics, polarized glasses, and I could see that stuff by standing up, and floating down, standing up. And if it was too swift, I dropped my drag chain down to slow me down, and just hit as much of that stuff as possible. And they were kind of in that, that stuff that doesn't always look like it's the greatest, but they blend in so good, man. Smallmouth are so good at changing their color, and they'll be, if they're on like a little sandy push water area, they'll be just sandy colored looking, And I definitely had some fish that were in that sort of area, and those are the ones like on the Susquehanna when they get on the head of those grass islands, and any rivers, where you have grass islands, or any island really, they're at the head of it. It's real shallow, and if they're there to feed and feed only. So if you can make casts in those little skinny little, 6 to 6 inches of water to 1.5 foot of water, that little push water, they're usually going to like jump on it if there's one there. You don't need to make like 5 casts at it. It's just a couple casts. So that's
this is where you can make your pukey face, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, oh.
6 inches of water? What?
Yeah. He's like, that doesn't sound fun. And all the tough, access sometimes, and the annoying parts of the creek, But anyway, but it was cool, man. Spinner baits and buzz baits, whopper plopper, chatterbait for sure. I was using the Project Z. I know you like the jackhammer, but Project Z is the one I kind of prefer. But I just kind of found them in that stuff that didn't always look the greatest, and it was consistent. They were there consistently, but I enjoyed it, man. It was a good time, and I can't wait to get back and explore some some more water because there's just so much to that lake. That's what's exciting about the championship. It's not like it's not like everyone's just going to continue to run the exact same history because, like we said, whole new game, new time of year, everything's going to change. So I'm excited to explore it and figure it out. But anyway, I'm also excited to hopefully be roommates with you two guys in the tin house because this was my first year.
Perfect.
Yeah, it'd be great, right? Let's just make it official here and let's just call it. So we all need a good championship in Shreveport, and I was fortunate to get second at Shreveport when the NC was there. So I feel good about being in Shreveport. I don't feel good that it's a different time of year, because it was back in March and there wasn't all the vegetation, all the growth, on the surface that we're going to see now. It's just going to be thick, matted. It's basically still the end of summer there in October still. So it's going to be totally different, but I'm at least have some bit of confidence. And I think we all three need a good finish, obviously, to seal that deal. So, but at least it's kind of in our own hands. We kind of control our own destiny, which a lot of people don't have that luxury. So let's just do it and just
I think
go
I'm
to the
103rd.
Yeah. Well, go win it, man.
Exactly.
Chad said there was like 100. What did he say? It was a ridiculous
130.
number. 130 people still can make it.
Yeah.
Mathematically, 130.
Yeah.
I had no idea on it in the first place, so I got back to the house after winning, and Jason's sitting there, and he's like, "Dude, you're in the top 10 in AOY points." I said, "How?" I don't.
Yep.
My plan was next year to hit the KBF stuff really hard and put away kind of the smaller stuff. So my plan next year is to hit the road, travel, do a lot more bigger events and stuff like that. I had no intentions on none of this year. But then East Harbor and then this one, then that guy said that, and I was like, "You mean the tin house?" He said, "Yeah."
That's a good way to start your year of doing a lot more national championships. Just start it off right. Get out there.
We start making phone calls. We're going south. We're going to go to Louisiana. Why not?
Heck yeah, man. This was so basically we're all on the 3 different stages here. Jimmy, you were a year ahead. You were focused on it. I know you were last year because if I remember correctly, at the national championship, when you knew what place you got in that Trail Series championship, you were like pumped because you knew exactly how many points you needed to make the tin house, and you got on stage and you talked about that. So when I saw you act that way, and I just didn't really realize, what it was all about until, honestly, I didn't focus on it much until just, COVID, and the year before I just did, 5 or 6, the FLW Cup and the, Lake Ouachita and the championship, and you know what I mean? And then I started to realize, okay, here's how you get into the tin house. Here's how you focus on the AOY with KBF, and then Hobie has theirs. And obviously I got into that last year with Hobie and ended up winning AOY. But then this year was my Jimmy McClurkan yours last year was my focus on, okay, I'm going to try to get in that tin house. I'm going to try to win the AOY in both these trails. I'm going national, focusing on it hard. And Robert, you're 1 year behind where you're starting to realize it now, like, I'm going to start doing more of these national things, and this is my goal. But good news for you is you can still, at least on the on the KBF side, get into this tin house this year. So that's pretty cool, man.
I had to text you just to figure out how to find the standings for AOY. I couldn't even find it.
Yeah. He didn't know. That's true. That's the truth. But anyway, let's look real quick at let's see, the results for this is the fantasy game that we're kind of bringing up on every show. I don't know if you guys play this or not this year, but if not, we're going to do it next year. And Paddlefin is doing a good job of keeping track of the stats, right? So the fantasy points are the cash that we earn as anglers equals fantasy points for the folks that are playing the game. Your best 6, you have 6 anglers to pick. So however your 6 anglers do in cash winning. So let's just go down real quick and just see. I don't even know what you guys are at. I'm going to look you guys up right now. And hopefully this is accurate. It should be. It's basically only from BASS, Hobie, and KBF events. Now, Jimmy, are you fishing anything else but KBF? And Robert, what about you? Go ahead, Jimmy. Just KBF stuff?
I've just fished KBF this year.
All right, so this is going to be all that you – all right, so we have you at $8,727 after this recent Kentucky Lake event. Hopefully that sounds about accurate. But $8,727. It's pretty good, man.
I've won some bonuses from Old Town.
Oh, there we go. And honestly, I don't know. I could look this up on
is
the
Robert
website.
in the game?
Robert should be in the game.
I don't know.
We should have added him. We should add him to the game he should have been added to the game is what I'm trying to say here. Let's see.
Gotcha.
Because
I wasn't in the game. And I don't think I added myself before.
All right. I'm going to look here. Robert is in the game, and you actually are pretty darn – you and Jimmy are very close, actually. Robert, you have $8,754. Jimmy, you had $8,727. That's pretty cool. You guys are basically dead even on money earned.
Nice.
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 Robert, you have you're only fishing KBF stuff and then local stuff, right?
No, I'm fishing the BASS stuff too. I qualified.
Oh yeah.
Qualified for the Classic this year, so I'm gonna. As soon as everything settles down, I'm gonna start making some trips to South Carolina and do some practicing. So.
Nice,
I don't know if that number is exactly accurate. I think does that count Challenge Series stuff as well?
It should.
No, it's just
trail.
It's just in person trail.
Okay.
And Hobie.
That's probably pretty accurate. That's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, just the in-person tournament. So
I got you.
And so right now it sits at Russ Snyder's has $29,466. Jody Queen at $26,073. Mark Pendergraph at $20,500. Ewing Minor at 16.7, and I'm at 14.9. Brian Howes at 14.8. Cody Milton, Guillermo Gonzalez, down at 9,000. So, and then you get to 9,800 with Nate Gloria, and then Robert and Jimmy. I would like to say this, dude. Maybe I've mentioned this before, but I'm proud of my 14.9 with no wins, 0 wins. And everybody on that list, everybody on that list has a win that I've mentioned. So I'm proud of that. I don't even know how far down the list you got to go till I finally get to somebody who doesn't have a win. So, if nothing else, at least I've been consistent. Cash checks.
Yes, yes, good job.
Hey, you don't have to win, right?
Hey, Drew, you see this?
Not efficient.
This right here was 2015 when I started. I won Angler of the Year, and I had 11 second places and 0 wins.
Jeez. Was that with Tennessee Club?
That was with Southern Mid Tennessee Kayak Anglers and KBFTN. I had 11 second places and didn't win a single tournament or no big basses. That was my first year.
Wow, man.
No wins. The only thing I won
insane.
For the year, so.
First year of our Kayak Anglers Northeast Ohio, I didn't win an event, but I won Angler of the Year. I had like 2 seconds and a third or something like that. We only do it out of best 3 out of 5 events, but I didn't win any of those events.
Well, guys,
consistency, man. It's the consistency.
That's what it's about. That's all you can ask for, and that's why the AOI really is like in the Elite Series or Major League Fishing anywhere. That's what they're all really like. That's I think feels like the more coveted.
That's the type of
prize.
Everybody wants that.
Yeah, you want that. It really shows the consistency. And guys, I'm just holding out my win for the national championship or the TOC. Mm-hmm. So
there you go.
I'm just waiting. Just kind of. So we'll see, man. But anyway, it's good to be on the podcast.
In one basket, huh?
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm trying to do here. So we'll have to see how it goes. But I'm excited about seeing you guys down there and just having a good time at the national championship. I hope people watching will show up. It's going to be a good time. Shreveport was a lot of fun. Good lakes around there, good fishing,
There's
and it's just
big old spiders there. I heard there's giant spiders.
They do.
Yeah. See, I'm not a fan. No.
Yeah, but I think most people are more concerned about the gators, but you're concerned about the spiders.
No dang spiders, man. I don't like them.
Spiders.
Yeah.
Well, the gators really weren't. The gators really weren't out when we were down there last time. You've seen a couple, but now when we're going down there, they're going to be out.
They're going to be out, no doubt about it.
They're going to be out. Yes.
Well,
Drew, we need to give them. Do we want to give it a few minutes to talk about thank anybody or shout outs, anything like that?
Yep, exactly. Let's do that. Jimmy, let's start with you. If you want to, thank any of your sponsors or family or any of your supporters out there. Your time, man.
Absolutely. Old Town, my title sponsor, puts me in. I feel like the best kayak on the water. They got an entire sportsman's lineup, whether you want an autopilot or a 10-foot MK. Good lineup of boats. Dakota Lithium powers everything that I have. Yak Gadget is all my storage and accessories. Halo rods. And, I would like to thank just Chad Hoover and KBF for putting the Trail Series on. We talk about a community. I think Chad is the OG of kayak. I think Bass is where it's at and Hobie's where it's at. is that because of Chad. So big shout out to him for doing what he does and what he has done. And that's it. And my wife, you know, she lets me go around chase these green and brown fish all over the country and hold down the fort and does what she does. And I appreciate her and my family and the good Lord above. Like I said, the weigh-in the other day, he continues to bless us. I was sitting the day that I won, I was just praying out loud to him and saying, you know what, Lord, I'm good. I'm just fishing. Be with these folks that are out there hurting from these hurricanes and wildfires and floods. And if you see fit, just let me catch 5 fish. And he blessed me with a great day, both days. So
that's cool.
It's all about him.
That's an amazing attitude to take at it. But and also just, hey, real quick about Chad, I'll say the same thing, man. You know what, obviously one of the more polarizing, figures in our sport, right? Whether you like that or you don't, no one can ever debate or argue that what he did with KBF to kind of, really has fueled and kind of kicked off and started a lot of what we have today with other trails.
Sure.
So for sure, man, congrats to him and on all that he's done in his success and big thanks to him, for sticking it out because it hasn't been easy. I ran a tournament trail for 10 years and it was not easy. And I was like, man, it's fun giving away this stuff and putting smiles on people's face and just allowing people to meet each other and have the memories. But that's the only thing I missed. It was so much work, man. And I know he's put in so much time and work, his entire team, Amanda and Christy, and now his son, Austin. And so thanks to those guys for sure for putting on good events and really starting this whole thing and giving us the other, trails we have now in some degree. They were a part of that. So anyway, good job, Jimmy. And congrats again. Robert, take it away, man.
First off, I got to thank my wife. We have 4 kids. We're wide open, sports, band, everything else in the world. And she holds down the fort like a champ. And she works full-time job and takes care of everything. And this tournament was rough because I didn't have any service. I'm used to having service and talking to my wife 17 times a day and hearing everybody else. But, I mean, she's just the backbone behind all of it. So, and Dakota Lithium, I've tried to kill my Dakota batteries on my trolling motor and stuff, and I haven't been able to do it yet. So I run a 100 ampere in the back and a 23 in the front. Runs my GoPros all day, phone, everything else. And Pro Tackle Crafters, they're a local company around here. All my jigs, plastic spinner baits, buzz baits, everything else, they take really good care of me throughout the year. And then Chasing 20, it's a clothing company that's getting ready to put a big dent in the kayak stuff pretty soon. They were chasing 20 pounds for a long time. And then I messaged them a couple of years ago, and I was like, man, you guys realize chasing 20 is what we do in the kayak game. We chase 20 inches. That's all. Everybody wants a 20 incher. That's it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So we started working some stuff, and we're working on a few things coming up. And then Drew, Dustin Hoy, Raccoon Creek Outfitters, he put me in I think New Canoe also. I got on their team this year. I mean, I had a New Canoe in 2015 when I won Angler of the Year. And I didn't have another one until this year. And as soon as I got back in that pursuit, I realized how much I loved it. I mean, it's fast, stable. It's a great all-around fishing platform. And then, like I said, Dustin, him at Raccoon Creek Outfitters are not far from us. And just great people. You won't fight. If you ever get around Southeast Ohio, you get to go check out a kayak shop. You'll walk in there. And I've always said, as soon as you walk in the door, it's country. Like, you walk in and you just feel like you're just family. You're waiting for Bobby to bring out biscuits and gravy. I mean, it's just a country store. They have everything in the world. They got all the Yak Attack stuff. It's a great place to go. They're really cool.
It is.
And that's pretty much it. I mean, but most of all, I got to say it again, my wife, man, she works so hard, and we got 4 kids under 18, and she supports this like crazy, and I could not be more blessed. I was at work today, and my buddy Joseph works with us. He said, buddy, your wife loves you. And I said, you're right, she does. Because I get to do this.
Cool.
So, and she holds down the fort. So,
do you talk to her 17 times a day during a tournament day? Or
buddy,
just
listen, if you ever meet me on the water, if you and I ever see each other on the water, I'm on the phone.
During a tournament? No way.
My buddy Mike Fink, Jason Isaacs, my wife, my kids, my phone is never stopping. I'm always talking to somebody while I'm fishing. Matt Davis, me and Matt Davis on Erie. I won 2 years ago on Erie. Every big keeper I caught was while I was on a phone call with Matt or my wife. Like, I don't know. I come from the bass. I got to be talking to somebody. I don't want to be sitting out there by myself. This tournament sucked. There was no service. I wouldn't leave Kyle's side. Him and I said, There's a GoPro video you'll see pretty soon where I ran into my boat because I hit on instead of off. We were sitting so close to each other, almost knocked him out of his boat.
My God, dude, what a miss!
I got to talk to people. I can't sit out there by myself. I go crazy.
That's why you're good on your good interview, man, because you like to talk. And I mean, what a mess of a tournament for you. You had to actually fish a creek. You couldn't talk to anybody. I mean, this is like crazy, man. You're just not in your element there, and it worked out.
Such a frustrating win.
I know. Jeez. Yeah.
Terrible.
Horrible.
To not have to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, shout out again, like you said, to Dustin Hoy and the guys at Raccoon Creek. Ken and I are obviously we're really good friends with Dustin, and he is one of the best. He and his wife, man, in the entire industry. So yeah, if you're ever up in that area of Ohio, feel free to check them out. I want to say real quickly, thanks to Bending Branches. That paddle is what I used. I didn't have a motor for this tournament, and the Angler Pro paddle crushed it. I love, my motor guide, but man, I'm telling you, on a tournament where I could just get in a skinny body water and just kind of use a paddle, that's just.
Which one were you in? What model were you in?
I used both. I used the Crescent Ultralight and the Crescent CK1 Venture. The Venture I used on day 2 because I said I really wanted to stand and start seeing some of that stuff before I roll right up onto it too quickly. The water was pretty clear, so I didn't want to spook them. So that was a great boat for the job. And then I was also going to mention, I love that you guys, Robert with New Canoe, Jimmy with Old Town, Ken and I fish out of Crescents. I love the fact, I feel like sometimes people have a little bit of a divide in the kayak fishing community, and the divide only for some reason comes with the boat you fish out of. It doesn't really matter we're each sponsored by different lure companies or rod companies, whatever, but sometimes people feel like, I don't know if I could be quite as close friends with this guy. Some people, I know not you guys, but I think it's cool. And what I want to start doing really is highlighting, other angle. I'm talking me personally, like on my Instagram or somewhere. I want to start highlighting friends of mine that fish out a different watercraft, just to kind of continue to promote the mantra that, in our sport that we are different, man. Kayak fishing is different. We don't want it to get to where, maybe some people see the big time bass boat world is with a lot of division. Let's just try to keep kayak fishing as much this cool community as it is now. I know one day big money is going to change things, but I want to keep it like this as long as possible. Love Old Town, love New Canoe, love all the other brands and all the folks that fish out of them and the people. They're all good friends and welcome to, stay with me at any tournament I go to. And I just don't want to see any of that stuff happen. So anyway, I wanted to give a shout out and just mention that as well. So let's keep it that way, guys. All right, Ken, any final thoughts, man?
I think, it's been a really awesome trail series for KBF. We've also, Hobie's also been super awesome. They have another event coming up this month, and then for them to wrap up their season. And Bass has lacrosse left this weekend, I think. Yep. And, it's been a really fun year coming out of, obviously COVID stuff is still around. That's a big deal. It is what it is, but getting back into a lot more normal, at least from the kayak fishing world, more of a year. It was really fun to go through up to this point. Excited to get these championships, participate in one, fish in some more. And, it's just been really exciting, really fun, and super awesome from everybody involved, all the guys who run them and do and make these things happen. It's my little opportunity to be on this show for Jimmy. And I just want to, shout out to everybody involved in the whole kayak fishing universe is that making all this possible just for us to even sit here and record this, and have a good time and talk to each other from across the states and, state lines and everything like that. It's just awesome. So it's fun watching you guys, your name's on the leaderboard. I obviously recognize you, Jimmy, obviously Robert, we know each other. So and Drew and I obviously been friends for a while. So just seeing your guys' name battle back and forth and bounce up and down those leaderboards on the weekends is always super fun. So, hope you guys are still having fun and keep going to get out there and fishing because, I'm sitting back enjoying it when I can't make it out there. So good job, fellas.
Absolutely. Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys, and I'm going to hit this thing. Again, I'm trying to take over for Jimmy, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to hit close, this closer, and it's going to hopefully take us out. But peace out, guys. Thanks again. Robert, Jimmy, if you want to stay on for a second, I'll when this is done running, I'll, offline, we'll say thanks and good night to you guys. But let me run this real quick, and we'll see you next week. Sorry again, guys. We couldn't run down the other tournaments. We'll try to get those caught up. I know Jimmy reads off the other local tournaments and some other regional stuff that happened. I don't know anything that's going on really with that, so we'll try to get caught up on that next time. But all right, for now, catch you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in Northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com